Hello everyone, I'm Kim and welcome to my sewing room. I hope you're all really well and are having a lovely Christmas break. I normally work between Christmas and New Year, but this is one of the few years where I have decided not to, and just to relax with my husband. My husband retired earlier in the year, so I thought I would spend a bit of time with him, and it's been lovely, but I must admit I've become so lazy. I have been watching a lot of telly and eating my body weight in chocolate and shortbread. So I thought I would take some time out today and actually do a video. And I have been watching a few vloggers over Christmas, and I thought it'd be a really nice idea to go through some of the things that I have made during 2024. Now, I say some of them because I haven't got all of them, because some of them were gifts and have been given away, or they've been commission work and obviously they've been passed on to the client. But I do have a lot. I made 61 things through this year, and I've probably got about 55 to show you. So I thought I would start off first of all with all the garments. So I've got them all here beside me, and I've spent quite a bit of today trying to track them down and get them in a state where they're presentable. So they've usually been washed and ironed, so they are all here to show you. And I've decided I want to go through some of them in more detail and the experience I had with them making them up. So I've got all of my project sheets, because you know I love a project sheet. So I've got all my project sheets with all of the makes and details about each of these projects that I have worked on, and I'm going to share what I've learned from each of these makes. Now, because there are so many things to show you, I have decided it is probably better if I break this video up into a series of videos. So I'm going to start off with blouses, and then tomorrow I will show you shirts, and the next day I will show you dresses, and the next day I will show you something else, and next day. So there are quite a few videos to this series that will cover everything that, or the majority of things, sorry, that I have made over the year. So get yourself a nice cup of tea and get settled, because we're going to make a start. So in 2024 I made 6 blouses, and the very first make of 24 was the McCall's 8325, and I really liked the line drawing of this blouse, and it was short sleeved. It was really a summer top, but I just really liked the design, and I knew when I bought the pattern that I would lengthen the sleeve, so that wasn't an issue. But when I traced off the pattern, I noticed that it was quite a unique construction, because there were two pattern pieces for the front. So the first pattern piece was literally a rectangular pattern piece, and with that you would cut out the fabric in a rectangular shape, and then there would be lots of markings on it where you would make the fold lines, which effectively made the pleats at the top. So once you had made up the fabric with all of these pleats, the second pattern piece got laid on top of that, and then it would be used as a template, and you would cut out the neckline and the armholes. And the thing I found about it was I had actually made the tucks in the top part of the bodice too big, which then made the bodice at the top too small. So when I put the second pattern piece onto the fabric, my fabric wasn't big enough. So then I went through a process of having to unpick a pleat each side of the bodice to extend that fabric, so then I could use that second pattern piece to cut out the top half of the bodice. Now it sounds very confusing, but looking at how it's done, if I had read the pattern, properly from start to finish at the beginning, I would have been a little bit more aware of what's coming. But now I've made this garment up, I can see how it works. I've never made anything this way before. I got there in the end, and I've made lots of notes on my project sheet, so when I come to make this blouse again, I have a good reference of what to watch out for. So the fabric itself was this beautiful sateen cotton, or cotton sateen, whichever way you like to say it, and it's a Nerida Hansen, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It's this petrol green with these splodges on, and it's really, really pretty. So this is the front panel, one piece all the way down, and the tucks, the pleats, sorry, at the top literally finish just above the bust line, and then the fabric cascades down. And the back is two pieces with an opening and a hook and eye. I absolutely hate this hook and eye, and I will change it, because it's literally 2 minutes after putting this on, the hook and eye just comes open, and the back just flaps around all the time. So I will change that at some point. The sleeves on the pattern are short, so I extended the sleeves by 8.5 inches, and I just put some elastic in the bottom so it fits loosely around the arm, and it's about a three-quarter length, so it sits sort of mid forearm, so it's quite a nice length, and I can see myself making more of these. So I was really pleased with my first make, so that was a success. I got there in the end. So my second blouse is the Butterick 6711. Now, I loved all of the design features of this pattern. It had a beautiful square neck, it had a gathered sleeve from the armhole, and it gathered into a tie wristband, and it's so feminine. It really did catch my eye. Now, I have made this before. I made it about 2 years ago, and the sizing recommendation was for me to make a size 22, because I've got a 43-inch bust, and it recommended I made a size 22. There was no way in a million years I was going to make a size 22, because I know from experience that that size would have just been overwhelming. So I decided to use my upper bust measurement on this occasion, and my upper bust measurement at the time was 38 inches. So that dropped the size down to a size 16, or size 14, 16. So I dropped right down and I made up the blouse. Now, when I made it up, it was a bit frustrating, because the illustration of the pattern showed this neckline that would fit quite nicely on the shoulders, and it would hide your bra straps, and the tie bands came all the way down to the wrist. But in reality, it didn't work out that way. The neckline was so wide that it would just keep slipping off of my shoulders, and I did find myself having to keep readjusting it, and it didn't hide my bra straps either. And also the sleeves were shorter than illustrated, and they came about 2 or 3 inches shorter than the illustration. And I do have a problem with my sleeves, because I'm 5'7". My arms are also a little bit longer than the average woman, and so I should have actually taken that into consideration. So that blouse got donated to charity, because it drove me bananas. So I decided this year that I would make a second one, and I had this beautiful fabric which I bought from Sherwood's, and it is this Lady McElroy cat fabric, and it's been in my stash for quite a while. I didn't have a lot of it, but I was really happy when I placed the pattern pieces onto this fabric and realised I could actually get this pattern out of this fabric. The changes I made to this pattern is I still stuck to a size 14-16, which in reflection I shouldn't have done, because I have put on weight, quite a bit of weight over from my first make to this make, and my bust size has gone up, and so have my hips. But we'll talk about that in a moment. But what I did do is so the straps wouldn't keep falling off of my shoulders, these binding pieces that go over the sort of shoulder area, I made a lot wider. So I made that wider so that the neckline sits more closer to the neck than the first make, and it also hid my bra straps. I didn't change the length of the sleeves because I find that, especially with things like ties, these sort of things, they're always dipping in drinks and food, and with them just being a little bit shorter, a little bit further up your arm, there's less chance of that happening. So in reflection, it is a bit snug. I really like how it fits on the top half of my body. My shoulders are definitely smaller in proportion to the rest of me, so it fits really nicely on the shoulders, it fits nicely on the sleeves, but the bodice is too small. So I know that when I come to make this pattern again, I definitely need to grade out so it fits my hips. But you know, when I lose weight this year, this will fit. And I don't really want to get rid of it because this fabric is so dreamy, and I haven't seen it anywhere else. So I will hang on to this for a while, because if the weight plan doesn't go to plan, then I will give it to charity and let somebody else benefit from it. So that is my B6711. My third blouse is the McCall's M7899. The envelope packet says that it's a loose fitting top that has neck facings, back opening with hook and eye, and neckline and sleeve variations. Now I opted for version D, which was an elasticated shoulder with a buttoned cuff. So the blouse had this beautiful elasticated effect on the top of the raglan sleeve. The drawing made it look like this elastic was wider than it actually is, but I can't see why, if you wanted to use wider elastic, you couldn't, and I might do that if I decide to make this a second time. The raglan sleeve just fits into a plain flowy bodice. The back is 2 panels with an opening, and instead of the hook and eye, I did put a popper closing because I just can't be doing with hook and eyes anymore. So that's hidden by my hair, so that doesn't bother me at all, and I know that once it's snapped closed, that is not going to open. Now the sleeve just comes into a buttoned cuff, and I got some lovely orange crystally sparkly buttons, and they are lovely. The only thing I struggle with this blouse is the seam of the sleeve. You know, you have your seam that runs from underneath your arm straight down, and this pattern has put the cuff, so the buttons actually sit underneath. It's a really weird placement of the cuff. So I know when I come to make this blouse again, I'm going to rotate that cuff slightly so that the buttons actually sit on the outside of the arm, because I feel that when I'm wearing it, I'm constantly trying to twist it into place, but it is not where it would naturally lie. So that's the only issue I had with this blouse. I have found that, especially from experience now, because I'm starting to understand my body shape a bit more, that if I make anything that's really quite floaty like this, I need to make it to fit my shoulders first, and then fit the rest of me. So if I make this next time, I will probably go down a size, because it's a little bit too full for me. But it's my first make and I will definitely wear it, so for me that's a win. So I'm really happy with my M7899. My fourth blouse is the Marnie. The Marnie is a Tilly and the Buttons pattern. Now, I haven't made a Tilly and the Buttons pattern before, and I wasn't disappointed. It came with an amazing booklet with step-by-step instructions with colour photos. This garment is quite busy, it's quite complex. There are lots of pattern pieces to it, but she goes through them really well, and it was a joy to sew up. There wasn't anything that she didn't cover. There were a few design features. So obviously the standout ones are the tucks on this top bodice and the tucks on the sleeves, and the back is just a back yoke with an opening, and then a bottom section here which is gathered into the back yoke, and I opted for one of my snap poppers as a closure, because as you know I can't do with hook and eyes. But the optional features that were available to was the ruffle around the neck. You could also opt for a shoulder ruffle. I didn't want the shoulder ruffle, I just wanted this neck ruffle, and she was quite clever by also including a binding that hides all of the raw edges of that ruffle so it doesn't rub around the neckline. So I was quite impressed by that, because wearing this a couple of times, I haven't noticed any uncomfortable irritation there. So I think she has thought of everything. Her sizing is quite unusual. She does sizing from 1 to 15, so it's not the standard sizing that we're used to on the Big Four pattern. So her sizing runs from 1, which is a UK and Australia size 6, a US size 2, or a European size 34, right up to a size 15, which is a UK and Australia size 34, a US size 30, or a European size 62. So sizing is really quite inclusive. Now I decided, because of the illustration on the front of the envelope, I could see that there's a lot of gathers across the bust line. My only concern with that was I didn't want too much fullness across the bust, because it would just make my bust look bigger. So when picking my size, I decided to go with my upper bust measurement rather than my full bust, and I wasn't disappointed. So I was really pleased that I selected my sizing by my upper bust because it fit really well, because of all of these gathers and the amount of fabric that you have here. I knew that there was going to be plenty of fabric to go over my bust and not feel like the garment was wearing me rather than the other way around. I made this in a cotton lawn. If I was to make it again, I would probably go for a more plainer fabric so that you could see these details better, because they do get lost in this busy print. If I was to make this again, I would probably just add 1/4 to 1/2 inch onto the top bodice section, just to give me a little bit more room in this area here. And I would also lengthen the sleeves by about 2 inches because I have weirdly long arms. So I have made lots of notes on my project sheet. And the other thing I also noted was nothing to do with the pattern at all, just to do with, I think with my age, as I've got older, my neck seems to be coming forward. And I found that I was pulling the front of it down slightly, and I just needed to take out a slither of the neckline just to bring my neckline a little bit lower down. But apart from that, it was a lovely make, and I really enjoyed sewing this up. It was completely different from what I've done before. So that was my Marnie. So blouse number 5 is the Be Mine balloon sleeve top by Pattern Emporium. Their patterns are amazing. I have bought a few of their patterns this year and I haven't been disappointed with any of them. Kate offers so many different variation and design features with each of her patterns. You just feel you're getting quite a lot for your money. This balloon sleeve top is obviously the main feature are the sleeves, and you can see here this lovely balloon sleeve here, but it also comes with the option to have different necklines. So there are 3 different necklines you could choose from. There are also 3 different hemlines that you can choose from as well. The fronts you can have in 2 parts with a center seam line which you can stitch. On this garment I decided not to divide it in 2 because the print's quite busy and I just felt it would get lost, so I opted for a 1-piece front. The back you can decide not to have an opening at the top. I decided to have an opening, though this opening has a button. I've actually stitch the button down because I can get my head through the neck opening without having to undo anything. So this is just really a design feature, and it comes in 2 parts. It's been stitched up so you can't see that very well because of the print being so busy, but that was my first version of this pattern and I absolutely love it. And I did put in a lovely little label. I got into my label stitching this year, so I put in "Thanks, I made it." So that was my first balloon sleeve top. Now Kate does her sizing by using your upper bust measurement, which was music to my ears. So by picking the upper bust measurement, I found my sizing really easily. The only thing that didn't work for me using her pattern was the bust dart placement. Her bust darts, for me personally, are way too high, and I have found that it is probably about 2 inches too high. So when I revisited this pattern, I actually took my bust dart all the way down by 2 inches. She does offer also in her patterns full bust adjustments if you feel that you need them, and I can see from my notes here that I didn't do a full bust. I didn't use one of her full bust adjustments on this blouse, mainly because it's quite floaty and I didn't feel that it needed it, but it does have darts, so I have made an amendment on my pattern and brought that dart down by 2 inches. So for me, this pattern has worked really well, and I'm a real fan of Pattern Emporium, which you'll see as we go along in these series of videos, because I have started to make quite a few of their patterns up. But in this instance, this has been a success, and I have worn this blouse quite a lot, and it has been made up in the beautiful chalet fabric from Studio Dashwood, and it's just the gorgeous colours, which I think go quite well with my complexion. So I've been really pleased with this make. So we are now at blouse number 6. Because I enjoyed making the Be Mine balloon sleeve top by Pattern Emporium, I made a second one in this beautiful white embroidery and glaze. And you can see the balloon sleeves here. So they haven't changed. I did the same neckline as I did on the previous one, but because this fabric has some transparency to it, I decided to do the wide hem finish, and when you see the video at the end, you'll see that you can see how effective that is once it's being worn. I moved my darts down, as I mentioned, because Pattern Emporium's dart placement for me doesn't work, so I actually moved the darts down. In this case, I moved them down by 1.5 inches, and they have worked really well. And yet again, I did the back exactly the same, 2 parts with an opening, but the opening has been secured because I can get my head through the neck. So I'm really pleased with this, because I don't have many white blouses. I think this is probably the only fully white blouse that I have, so it has come in very useful. And the other thing I would say is this fabric is 100% cotton. It is definitely a heavier fabric, and because of that, the balloon sleeve effect doesn't show up as much because there's not as much drape. So be aware of that if you decide to make a balloon sleeve top in cotton. I think with a chalet fabric, it really emphasizes the scoop of the balloon sleeve, but I'm still pleased with it. It's lovely, and I do wear it a lot. So that's my second balloon sleeve top. So those are my 6 blouse makes this year, and I hope you've enjoyed them and seen how I have adapted patterns to suit my size. Not always successfully, but you know, this is always a learning curve for all of us. We're learning about our bodies and how these patterns work on our bodies, and I think most of us have realized that sadly you cannot just make a garment from a pattern without making some sort of alteration to it, because we are all unique. And I think for me personally, there are a few pattern companies that I really like working with because their sizing works for my body. So with that being said, I'll leave it at that, and I'm going to start working on the next video of this series. But if you have enjoyed the content of this video, give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, it would be lovely if you could. And I will see you all very soon. Take care. Bye.